Before we get started on today's episode, I wanted to let you in on a little secret. That's right, folks, just in time for the holidays, our very own That Would Be Rad merchandise is available for you. All you have to do is go over to shop.spreadshirt.com/thatwouldberad. Again, that's shop.spreadshirt.com/thatwouldberad. And you're going to see over 25 designs of all kinds of merchandise. We're talking hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, buttons, face masks, you name it, we've got it. We're so excited to bring it to you. So don't wait another second. Head on over to shop.spreadshirt.com/thatwouldberad. And now, let's enjoy the show.
Hey, all you wet bandits and McAllisters, welcome back to your favorite podcast, That Would Be Rad, a podcast that majors in 80s and 90s nostalgia, comic culture, all things paranormal, and minors in retro video games, tabletop RPGs, pre-internet mysteries, and raising our kids to be half as cool as we were back in the 80s. I'm your host, Tyler Bence, and this is your other host,
Woody Brown.
What's up, dude?
Hey, man. Quick question for you. So, how many eggs did you eat for breakfast today?
None, but I'm on my second Red Bull.
Dude, did I admit to you, or was that just like admitting to a listener on the Instagram that I actually had a Red Bull the other day?
You talking about the one that we had when we...
Well...
Which, by the way,
so that's
dude...
now two Red Bulls that...
We haven't even talked about it.
We haven't even talked about it.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, that just means that we're going to have to have an episode solely about that visit.
Yeah, that was a really
Should
fun...
we give folks a little teaser?
I think so. I mean, probably the best day of my life.
You know what? Let's not give him... Well...
Okay.
We're just gonna have to. Well, sure. Well,
what did Boo Boo used to do when he would go? Well.
God, that guy, man. I've never laughed so hard in my life.
I miss that
Hey,
guy.
Woody, pull up. Remember that?
Yeah. No, dude. What about the big gulp? He had like the purple big gulp that he spilled.
I gotta say, man, I'm somewhat of one of the challenges I have in life is that I'm somewhat of an uptight character.
Oh yeah,
I'm kind of tightly wound in a lot of ways.
I am too, in different ways though.
Yeah, definitely different ways. Sometimes that complements
Yeah.
one another, and in other times it just makes it even more frustrating for each of us. But you know, man, I used to give that poor kid so much grief because, you know, when you stop at a gas station and you're getting snacks, even just for a regular road trip, much less like you're in a tour van that's already smelly.
Well, first of all, let's explain the tour van. It's floor to ceiling carpet.
Blue shag, like a heavy shag carpet.
Like indoor house carpet on the ceiling, on the sides, on the floor.
This guy would always get like the, Cheetos with just tons of the orange dust. Yeah. Cheetos dust or Doritos or something. And then as big of a cup that they sell full of some colored soda, like just like a crazy color, like, dark red. There's going to be a lot of food coloring in whatever soda he chooses, right?
Yeah.
And, even though it's more expensive, and I get it, I get the bottled soda so that I can put the cap back on.
Every time.
Why would you do that? Well, because
it has a cap.
If it tips over, it's not going to spill, or at least less likely to. And so one of these days, it was like we're all on each other's nerves. We've probably been on the road for weeks and weeks. It's freezing cold. We're up north somewhere, and like all of a sudden, we have to take a turn. We hit a bump. That's another thing. The shocks on the dang van were just the worst. And we hit a bump, and that dang grape soda just spills everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure I came unglued.
Yeah.
Oh, no, dude. And also, like, he broke the cup holder on the side of that door. Remember? Like, his foot just, landed on it, and it just, completely crushed that cup holder. And just destroyed it. You know?
I mean, I will say it. Both of us being dads to two small children, I think there's no better thing in our lives that has ever prepared us more for that than having Boo Boo as our bass player.
I gotta love that kid. Hey, bro, have you checked out the forecast for this week? This week, the week of Christmas?
I mean, it's looking a lot like snow and Santa and presents.
Well, yes and no.
Oh.
I mean, if you've been nice, of course you're gonna be getting presents and all that. But I think the weatherman's been a little naughty here because here's the deal: if you look at the forecast, it's like Christmas Eve, it's gonna be like 50 degrees and raining, and then overnight it gets down to like 27.
Ooh.
So it's like, dude, we're so close to be able to have snow. Can the weather just shift just a little bit?
I know.
For us to have some snow, man. I mean, I really am dreaming of a white Christmas.
Can we just get one thing for this year?
For 2020, man, that's what I want for Christmas. It's just snow, man. A little bit of snow.
Yeah.
Not even a ton. Some like Georgia snow. The devil's dandruff.
Now, we did have snow here in Georgia.
January.
What? No, I think it was on Christmas. I mean, years ago, like when my wife and I first got married.
Yeah.
So like 10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh, my gosh, dude. So we did it, man. I watched Gremlins.
Oh, yeah, let's hear about it.
I mean, okay, now, granted, it has been a while since I watched it kind of like all the way through. I was a little nervous because like we'd said in previous episodes, I was just nervous about like him being scared of like the actual Gremlins. But what's funny is, man, I didn't really find it to be scary necessarily, but there are some like, and full disclosure, I completely fast forwarded through the Phoebe Cates talking about her dad and why she doesn't like Christmas piece. I didn't even want to go there, man. Just fast forward. But, it wasn't really like scary like I remembered it as a kid. It was more just like there's some parts that is just like, ooh, that's gross, man. But that kind of stuff when you're a little boy, you're kind of like super like, oh man, that's gross, but that's so funny. And another thing that I didn't remember about it was like how quick it kind of just gets into, like these, the Mogwai that, or not the Mogwai. They're all Mogwai, right? So how quickly, so the other Mogwai that happened because old Mouth from Goonies, tipped over a water cup onto Gizmo.
Oh, dude, I totally forgot he was even in this movie.
Oh yeah, dude. And this is the best. It's like it's just like a year before I think they shot Goonies, and so he's like still like a little chubby. Yeah, man. And he's the same, And it's just so funny because he's just kind of like a little edgy for a kid that would be that old,
Right.
And he wears that like Christmas tree like costume to deliver a Christmas tree. Do you remember that?
No, I got to go watch it today.
It looks like a Christmas tree that's moving around. It's hilarious.
That's awesome.
And he's just pissed about it the whole time. Anyway, like those Mogwai like trick Billy into thinking it's not midnight yet because they cut the wire to the clock and they eat and all this kind of stuff. Well, I forgot how like quickly it goes from, okay, they're eating, they kind of transform into these like cocoons, and then all of a sudden, like the mom is like on the phone, and she's like, "Billy, they hatched." She's like, "I'm on my way home," and she hears like a Christmas record being played downstairs. She goes downstairs, and like she goes into the kitchen, and I don't know why, but my son and I just thought this was so funny, man, and kind of intense. Like right out of the gate, man, like she sees these things, she's like, kind of scared. One of them like throws a plate at her, which, okay, mischievous, not nice. And she just like traps one into a blender and just freaking chops it up. And you're like, whoa, okay.
Immediately?
Yeah, immediately, dude. No reservations there. Then she traps another one, kind of like the grossest part is that she traps one in the microwave, man. And
I remember that,
like explodes. So she ends up killing like 4 or 5 of these suckers, man.
But wait a minute. This is when they're still like cute.
We don't know what they. No.
Oh, this is after
they're like they're gremlins, but
but wait a minute, because I remember like is it Spike or Stripe?
Stripe.
Because this is a Mandela effect example also. But I remember those were like they were cute at one point, and then they
Well, they were kind of cute, but
they're like
also
mischievous.
naughty,
Though.
man.
Yeah.
Dude. They like Gizmo's like he's just kind of like all on his own and stuff, and it's kind of like sad, man. He's like playing this trumpet underneath the Christmas tree, and they're like Gizmo, caca, and they like throw stuff at him.
Which I mean, if you look back, I mean, there is no way that that the Baby Yoda character wasn't.
Oh man.
I mean, same kind of like demeanor, like just super innocent, super sweet, but kind of still does like cute, quirky, funny stuff.
So me and my son were like, man, that mom is intense. And he's like, yeah, man. I mean, we came up with this like little thing that we were laughing about. We're like, moms don't play. And then he'd be like, moms save lives. It was just hilarious. But anyways, bottom line, he wasn't scared. He thought it was amazing. He loved it. He immediately wanted to like have a Gizmo toy or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it went pretty well. Now he's 8, gonna be 9 in September. So I would say like this is about the age to not have to worry about the scared part. But you know, my youngest, who's 4, is like begging to watch it. I'm like, I don't think so. You know,
yeah,
she can handle it. I mean,
this is the second time we're recording this episode, and it was really cute when she came in on the last recording when she was like, so Dad, I know that I'm not there yet, but when I get to be 5, will I be old enough to watch Gremlins? Remember that?
Yeah, man, adorable.
Yeah, that's really funny.
You know, speaking of Gremlins, do you guys do the Elf on the Shelf thing? And is your elf like a mischievous little elf, or is it kind of like a happy little whatever? How do you guys handle that over there?
So we do have the elf, and her name is.
Oh, dude, you got a girl elf.
We got a girl elf. Yeah, her name's Effie, which I think was my oldest daughter Amelia. I think that was her way of saying Elfie, but But cool. Couldn't pronounce it. So it's just kept the name Effie all these years. But she's pretty funny. This is like the first year I've got to say that really me, like really kind of go for it and like doing all the stuff. Now, we don't really do I mean, man, if you look on like Pinterest and stuff.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I mean, there's some crazy stuff, like, I mean, even our nanny Laura, she did a thing where she got up early. She made these like little like quarter-sized like homemade pancakes that were like edible. That then her daughter Aaliyah came downstairs and saw, and then she was able to eat them. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have that.
I don't know if any of the listeners saw what we posted on our stories the other day or last week, where our buddy Griff recreated that Die Hard scene.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people just go like all in, man. And
yeah.
I gotta like us. So we have a boy elf. His name was Scout, which isn't that creative because I think that's the name of the elf in the book, but whatever. Like I think like the first like couple weeks last year or the year before, whenever we got that darn thing, I tried to like hide it in a cool place. It ended up being like where I was like, oh God, I don't want to have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so yours is Effie.
Yeah.
Is she like more like a gremlin or is she more like a gizmo?
I mean, she just kind of, so my oldest she's only 5. So, we haven't done any like the crazy stuff, but like, it started out like she would just be in different places. So, she'd be like up on the counter, and then it progressively got like higher and higher and higher to, now she's on the top of the Christmas tree. Now she's on top of like the 2-story window in our living room. And I've been trying to figure out a way to get her up on the ceiling fan, but without killing myself, I'm not real sure how to make that happen. But then like last night, she's sitting on both my daughters are really into like Spirit, the horse cartoon or whatever. And she was like sitting on Spirit, like on top of the kitchen cabinets. The night before, we found her in the refrigerator. The night before, she's on and this was pretty difficult. I had to like sneak into my daughter's room, sneak into her bathroom, take out like she has like the little baby toilet seat that she used to have like under her sink when she was like a little baby, potty training. And we had little Effie like sitting on the little baby toilet. It is really fun though. Like,
yeah,
I put her a couple nights ago. I took Elsa's dress off of little Frozen like Barbie, and put that dress on her, and then she's.
Oh, cool.
We have these like little, which these are actually really.
Wasn't sure where that was going.
Yeah, but we had, and I don't even know who got these for us. I think it was a gift or something, but it was like a box of these like indoor snowballs, so you could have like an indoor snowball fight.
Oh yeah, man, I think I got them for you.
Did you?
No, man, I'm just gonna take credit.
Man, I don't know who got them for me then.
But I feel like I did because we have those too. They're like little soft.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want to say cotton balls, but kind of.
Yeah, they're just like cloth.
Yeah.
Snowballs.
Woven, whatever. But we had that, and then I had her like sitting in a bowl, sort of Marilyn Monroe style, with this frozen Elsa dress on. But it's funny because they want to like touch her and stuff, but you know, that's the trick.
You can't, or else the magic.
Yeah, they lose
right?
the magic. Yeah, we haven't gotten into any of the crazy stuff yet, but it is pretty fun. I think it's cool.
It is cool, man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's crazy. Like, as our listeners are listening to this right now, when they listen to it, it's like actually the week of Christmas.
I know.
No, I just can't believe it's almost time. You know, it's almost Christmas. Christmas is here. We're here. This is it.
Yep.
You know,
the big day.
The big day. Now, you know, I think it's important for us to say too. Look, as joyous and as much excitement and good tidings that we have with the holiday, I think it is important to note that like this is a tough time for a lot of people. You know, maybe they lost a loved one this year. The holidays can be kind of rough for folks. So I think, you know, it's important to say, look, if you are someone that I would consider like a fortunate person to not really have to have gone through any kind of hardships this year or whatever, I think it's super important to reach out to the people that you know and that you care about, whether that's family, friends, or whatever. Just, you know, maybe someone that you haven't talked to in a long time that you know might be going through a difficult time, and just let them know that you care about them.
Yeah.
You know, bring a little bit of that Christmas joy to their life in some way, you know, because you just never know how hard somebody is having it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, and I think of, I think of my grandmother. My grandpa passed away several years ago, and, you know, you just think of, I mean, at least me, and I know you are the same. Like, you know, when we think of Christmas, we associate it with, oh, it's warm and happy and everybody's getting along and stuff. Especially, you know, now that we have kids, it's even amplified even more. So just the idea, knowing that, like, you know, my grandmother, all of her kids are grown and they're all out of the house, and then my grandfather passed away. So knowing that, you know, Christmas Eve, she's going to go to bed and there's not going to be anybody there. And it really breaks my heart. So, yeah, like what he said, you know, reach out to those that you care about, that you know, and even if they're not visibly, you know, like if they don't look like they're having a hard time, you know, still just reach out to those people that may be alone on Christmas Eve or on Christmas. Just show them you care.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And if you happen to be, if you're listening to this and you happen to be someone that is going through a tough time, man, I feel terrible about that for you, and I hope that you let somebody know that you need some support, you know. And we obviously love you here at the podcast, even though we may have not met or even talked before. So just know that you know, there are people out there that care about you and that kind of thing. So I think this is a great time to kind of just take a quick break, get a word or two from our sponsors, and then when we come back, kind of really dive into, man, you know what I've been just dying to talk about, dude?
What's up?
I want to talk about, like, I want to know about some of your favorite things that you got for Christmas, some of your favorite Christmas memories.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the unique things because of, you know, how I grew up and stuff, living overseas. Like, I want to talk about just Christmas, man. Bring that joy for everybody and, you know, kind of reminisce a little bit.
Yeah, dude, I love it.
Tonight's program has been brought to you by...
America's future can be determined by our dreams and our visions.
It was very intense, bright light.
For over 200 years, there have been reports of giant man-like creatures.
From another dimension, another world, I don't know.
The most intriguing mystery on the North American continent.
You're listening to That Would Be Rad.
So kind of like what you were touching on before, one thing that I think is really interesting is, you know, a lot of our listeners are from the U.S., we both live in the U.S. now. But we are also fortunate enough to have a lot of listeners overseas. And I know you lived in Indonesia for a good portion of like your early, child years. So how did that look, compared to like the typical American, sort of Christmas traditions? Like, how was it over there?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, at the time, it was, definitely different. I think, in my memory, I remember, with our international school and stuff, I feel like we got like a lot more time off in December, like, because, we traveled all the way back to the States most of the time, and then had enough time to kind of like potentially take a vacation around then too. So I feel like we got a whole month off. I could be remembering that incorrectly. I'm not sure. Wow. But we would have, some time off, and then typically we would travel back to the States so that we could spend Christmas with, our family. And, dude, for the most part, we would make it back in time to, be here in the States for Christmas. But, dude, I remember one Christmas in particular that was just like, it stands out for a lot of reasons, but mainly like one of them, not only did I get like one of my favorite, this is one of my favorite, Christmas gifts that I ever received kind of thing, but the magic of Santa Claus was just like, oh my gosh, I can't even understand how it happened. So I think for whatever reason, and I can't recall like the circumstances, but for whatever reason, we happened to be like in Singapore on Christmas Eve. So we're going to be spending the night on Christmas Eve in a hotel. And I remember as a kid, like thinking like, man, like, look, I get it. Santa's got some crazy magic and stuff. He can make things happen. But how in the world? There's no chimney in this thing. There's no chimney in my hotel.
Or chimney if you're...
Or did I say chimney?
No, but a lot of people that I'm related to say that.
Chimney. No, I mean, there's like, I couldn't figure it out, right? And so I thought, like, I had just like this dismal sort of like, man, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I guess we're just not going to have, and
I mean, he's magic, but he's not that magic.
And I remember like that year specifically because of what I wanted, I was obsessed with Dick Tracy, the movie. And I wanted everything and anything Dick Tracy. So I thought to myself, as a kid, man, I'm just not going to get all that stuff. And I'm kind of like processing through that, trying to like make it okay. And my mom could just tell like, what's wrong, Apparently I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Oh, same here.
And so I was like, look, Mom, I don't think Santa Claus is going to make it into the hotel room, And at the time my brother and I were old enough to where we were in like an adjoining room or whatever. And I think, like, if I remember right, like my parents' the doors that led to the rooms was like cracked or whatever. So that night, my brother and I, we go to bed. I'm still not super convinced, even though my mom says, look, man, Santa's magic. He's going to be able to, you don't worry about it. We're still going to have Christmas.
And now that we're parents, not to keep derailing this, but now that we're parents, just think of the confidence that your mom had when she's saying this, because she knows.
Ultimate. Yeah. What she's going to have to do.
What's going to go down, yeah.
Yeah. So, just confidence in the ninja skills. Yeah. Okay, so we go to bed, my brother and I. We're asleep, right? And I remember, dude, like waking up and realizing, oh my gosh, it's morning. And like kind of like looking over, and it's just like the room is just full of presents.
Man, that's amazing.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, man. And this is around that age when you start to kind of like question the magic of Santa and all that.
Yeah.
And I was just like blown away, and my brother and I, we run into my parents' adjoining room. And we're like, Mom, Dad, Santa came. Can you believe it? This is crazy. And they're like, what? Huh? Oh man. They come in there and we just start ripping open stuff. We got every Dick Tracy toy. We even got like, the plastic Dick Tracy fedora.
Oh, I had the same one.
It was like yellow. And then also my mom like sewed like a yellow trench coat or whatever. She made a yellow trench coat. And of course there's like family video, of me like in the airport, the next couple of days as we were traveling back to the States, just like wearing that thing.
Just 18 years old. You've got your...
Yeah. No, man. I mean, like, how annoying a 10-year-old just like, and oh God, it was just silly. So that memory, man, has impressed me like my entire life because, like you said, as parents, you understand the challenge that would have been,
Mm-hmm. I mean, now did, you saying that to your mom, like there's definitely, and sorry to all those folks out there that aren't parents while we gush a little bit about having kids and stuff, but like there's so much joy a parent can get out of when like their kid is saying, well, I really wanted this, but I know that you didn't get it. Like,
yeah,
you can, they think something's not going to happen, but oh, well, we already got that months ago.
Yeah,
like
we're doing that right now.
It's
too.
so
It's
cool. Like, there's no greater feeling than that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a really adorable story. I mean, you're home from college, and then you wake up and you got all your Dick Tracy stuff.
Yeah, man. Go home from college.
I almost slipped that by you. I think you were looking at your
here's
phone.
the thing, though, man. Like, I actually still have those figures, man. So, just saying.
They're pretty weird, though.
They are weird.
I didn't have all of them, but I had a few. And I remember...
They're shaped in such a way that, like, you can't really, like, stand them up.
Yeah, they're just weird. I mean, I know it wasn't Tim Burton, but it definitely had, like a little bit of that vibe. Mm-hmm. Like, all the characters had almost like a... not like... Well, Sin City, honestly, probably got a little bit of that vibe.
Yeah. I bet we could look at it. I wonder if any of the art department, like if there's any bleed over there. I mean, there's a long time gap between them, but, I wonder if some of those artists worked on...
well, actually, Frank Miller, he did, he wrote and did the art for Sin City. I think that initially came out in the comic Dark Horse Presents, probably early 90s to mid 90s. So, there could have, heck, maybe, well, I don't know. I was going to say maybe Frank Miller had something to do with working, in the art direction for Dick Tracy, but, he was already a pretty big deal. Dark Knight Returns and Daredevil Born Again.
But, dude, this cast, man, you're talking about Al Pacino, Madonna,
big.
Warren Beatty. Warren Beatty directed it. That's pretty interesting. So, it's a pretty heavy cast.
Whatever happened to Warren Beatty, by the way? He was such a big deal.
Yeah. He was old then, though, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Going back to the Christmas vibe. So were you ever the kid that would, sneak when your parents were looking or your parents were asleep, maybe shake the present a little?
Yeah, not really, man, which is funny because, my natural inclination actually is to, like, convince, this is like a running joke in my family. Every year they're like, somehow Woody's going to do it. He's going to convince us to open all the presents before Christmas morning.
Yeah.
And so that, like, I worked on that all the time. I'd be like, well, everybody else has this tradition of opening one present. And then my hopes would be that I would open one that, like, happened to go with another. And then it's like, oh, well, I kind of know what the other one is. I might as well. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I just...
It's a real slippery slope. You just...
Yeah, man. And then once everybody's got that Christmas spirit, they're like, just open them all. That's what I'm always...
Yeah.
That's what I'm always hoping for. But no, not really. In terms of, like, sneaking around trying to find out what you're going to get, I only kind of accidentally did that one time, and it was devastating, dude. I hated having to pretend like I didn't know I was getting it.
Yeah.
I hated just the whole deal. And so, like, I would make it a point to be like, Mom, don't, like... Tell me, like, where these things are hidden. I promise I'm not going in there because I don't want to know. Just, let me know what to avoid because I don't want to accidentally see it,
God, you are such a lawful good kid.
I'm lawful good, man.
Yeah. I was not. I was the kid who, I would do this little trick where,
oh, dude.
However the present is sitting, I knew exactly, how it was. So I'd turn it over on its side.
What do you mean? Like it's where? Where is it? Right? It's under the tree
under the
already?
tree. Yeah, it's under the tree.
Okay.
I would, and I would always do this like if my mom was at home or, you know, maybe
You got home early from school.
Got home early from school.
Speaking of nobody's looking.
Yeah, exactly. So I would keep it exactly where it was on the floor. I would turn it on its side. I would go to the bottom, and I would get like probably at the time it was like a pocket knife. Slice open the tape, open it up. You know, you open the whole bottom, you can see what the box is. Although later, I think my mom kind of got hip to it because she started putting the actual, you know, the presents in like other boxes. So it was like no matter what I did, it was like just in another arbitrary
Just a cardboard
box. Yeah, but I would do that. I would slice the tape. You know, I mean, I'm talking like bank robber precision. Peel it back and then find out what it was. Put it exactly back, and then you take a roll of tape, roll it around your fingers, so it's like it's almost like double-sided tape. It's just a ring of stickiness on all sides. You stick it on the inside of the present, then you close it so it looks like that tape that was already on there is still attached. And then I would flip it back over, boom. One Christmas I remember, it's so funny that this is one of the things that I remember just being so just gleeful and happy and just my mind was blown. So it would have been, when did Jim Lee's X-Men 1 come out? Like 92?
I mean, yeah, early 90s, man.
92, 91 maybe. So Jim Lee, famous artist, the writer Chris Claremont, famous X-Men artist, famous X-Men writer for many, many years. I mean,
it's fair to say, like, if people know when they think of, if they're our age, but they were never really into comics, but they think of the X-Men, they're thinking of Jim Lee's X-Men.
It's this. Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of great X-Men, you know, Dave Cockrum, Mark Silvestri throughout the 80s, John Byrne, ton of great artists, but like Jim Lee, especially for me at this time, you know, going into my teenage years, it was like mind-blowing, you know, when this book came out. So they had, I think it went on to X-Men or Uncanny X-Men 300, and then they just completely restarted with issue 1, which now happens every few months. But back in the day, you know, that was a really big deal. It's like, wow, we have 300 issues that have been going, you know, since I think it restarted in like the 70s maybe. Anyway, long story short, I was doing something. I was the kid who was always like doing flips and cartwheels and like crawling all over the counters and, you know, climbing trees and stuff. So for some odd reason, I was, it was around Christmas time. I was looking for something, and I was like on top of the countertop, and then we had these sort of drawers like above the little slot for the refrigerator in the kitchen. And I can't remember what I was looking for, but I was up there. I opened one of those drawers. Boom, there it was, a stack of, and at the time, these X-Men books, they would come out in like little 3-packs. So they would come out with New Mutants 100, Rob Liefeld, X-Force #1, also Rob Liefeld, and then the Jim Lee X-Men #1. And then it was also a wraparound cover. So there was like five different, you know, variants of the cover, and you'd put them all together and they would make a big giant scene, which is stunning.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing.
Amazing. Which, by the way, I've got to show you my present that one of our best friends, John Packer, just got me. He gave it to me as his early Christmas present. It's this new Jim Lee X-Men, like giant X-Men book, and it is the biggest thing I've ever seen. It's like 24 by 36, and it's a hardback book with like all of Jim Lee's like famous stories. So to see the wraparound cover that big is just, it's amazing, dude. I can't wait for you to see it. And also, thank you so much, John Packer. You rule, and we love you. I opened, you know, the cabinet, and there it was, a stack of every single one of the issues, and then, you know, so 5 little 3-packs, and then on top of that was the deluxe edition, which I've since lost this somewhere along the way, but it was like a deluxe version of that X-Men one that it had like all these extra posters, and then it had like a Jim Lee sketchbook in the back. But I can still remember the exact feeling of standing up on my counter in the kitchen, leaning on the refrigerator, just covered in dust, I'm sure, and just like poring over these covers of these comics. That was a really good deal.
But I mean, did you have to after that, did you let your mom know that you saw him, or did you just have to like pretend?
No. Yeah. I just with this one, so there were others where I would discover what it was, and then I would kind of go through this, kind of like guilt of like, wow, now I got to put on this like act of being surprised. But honestly, man, I was so excited because it was like such a big time in like comics that it like heightened the excitement even more. That like, I have them in my hands. I'm literally holding these things that I want so bad, but I can't. I got to put it back in the thing. So when I opened it, it was like there was already so much excitement that it was. Yeah.
You just couldn't wait to open them up again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, we also should go into. I mean, this will probably be a later podcast, but this was around the time when I worked an entire summer at a local comic shop, and my mom would drive me in. This would have been in my teenage years. She's driving me to school one day. This is like once the school year started, a few weeks in, and she's like, "Wow, now you got all this, money from working at the comic shop. Maybe you can start saving for this." And I was like, "Oh no, Mom, I didn't make any money. They paid me in comics." And she was furious.
Even if you had made money,
they would have went to comics anyway. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, but just like it's funny that I didn't think anything of it then, but like now I look back and it's such a funny story because like, she had to take time out of her day, out of work, get up early or whatever, and like in the summer to drive me into town to like to go to this comic, store, and
Dude.
They were just paying me in back issues probably.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The moral of the story is if you own a comic book store, hire some kids to work for you and just pay them in like back issues.
Yeah, or hell, hire me. I'll
labor.
Still probably work at a comic shop for back issues.
Yeah, I'll come, man. I'll help organize, stock shelves. I mean, gosh, dude, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, dude. So did you have any, do you remember any like big sort of...
man, it's funny that you asked that. I've kind of, like, there's a couple, they just sound kind of silly, but it's like when you're a kid though, like, it's not like the thing that you want sometimes isn't this like just crazy expensive extravagant thing for me anyway. You know, like, I mean, there were some times whenever, of course, I wanted like the Nintendo when it came out and like a Sega and all this, and spoiler alert, I didn't get them. But there were some times when I know that I was like super excited about my BMX with like bunny pegs and all that stuff. Yeah, sure. But the stuff that really stands out were like little things that like, of course, like the Dick Tracy one. Also one year, man, my mom, like, I think all I really wanted were like those little plastic army men.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know where in the world they found this, especially back then. There's no internet. I don't know if it was in the back of a comic book or what, but they got me like this, like, it was literally like I don't know, man, like several 5-gallon buckets of these like full to the top, man, of army men. And it's not like they put them in the buckets. Well, at least I don't think. I'll have to ask him about that. But it was like the buckets themselves were like painted almost like, olive drab green with like stenciled like U.S. Army.
I
like,
feel like
it
I remember
so
that.
official, And then like you open it up. It's almost like this was like government issued army men or something. And then you open it up and it's got like tons of army men, like even like that same brand's tanks and like army like vehicles and stuff. And then we also got like she got us all like the Hot Wheels kind of army collection type thing. And I think that's the same year I might have gotten like the Airwolf helicopter toy.
Oh my gosh, I
Not
never
like
had
the big
it,
one, but like the actual like die cast metal, the like the Hot Wheels version of it or whatever.
Yeah, but I think there was like a big one.
Probably, man. I had like the small one because, like, truthfully, man, like I wasn't really like into like the big stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it was harder for me to pretend. It was like way easier for me to pretend like with that thing in my hand that everything else was just like to scale, like, oh, that's a big city over there, or this couch is like a building or whatever. So I had like that. I think that was the same year that she got us like the A-Team collection of the Hot Wheels stuff.
Oh, I actually, dude, I just found at my grandmother's the little A-Team van, like the old Hot Wheels.
I've got like a couple of them
Yeah,
too, man.
those are awesome.
I win. I'm just kidding. And another thing, so here's another reason why it stood out. So it, like they did, you know, my mom and dad did that for us. But then also mom spent like her time like making these little like, you know, like army sandbags. So she got this like different colors of like army camouflage, like including desert and all this, and like sewed little mini like sandbags that we could use for like when we were playing with all these things.
Man, that's
and stuff.
amazing.
So it's just like little stuff like that. So I remember that one was like a huge favorite of mine. You know, I was super into Legos, and of course, like every kid back then, like G.I. Joes.
Oh, man.
He-Man. But it's so funny too, dude, because we'd end up with these like knockoffs. So we'd get like one main, or like a handful of like main like Skeletor, He-Man,
right.
and then like this guy, you know, that's not
like the
not
skunk
a-
guy, or
Well, I got those too, but like I'm talking like
the fake ones.
not even like auxiliary characters. I'm talking about like they're about the same shape. They probably went through a similar mold,
Yeah.
but instead of
Yep.
being able to bend them, they're just
I know
completely
exactly
solid.
what you're talking about. Yeah,
You know, that kind of stuff. Same goes for like the GI Joes. We've got several sort of just like super fake, GI Joes.
Well, and they would always be in those like I feel like I remember the fake GI Joes would be in these like it would be like a 3 or 5 pack. And remember, it would be like
yes,
long.
dude. Absolutely.
And
Yep.
so it would, you know, you would go to the store, you go to Kmart or later Walmart, but pretty much as when we were kids, it was Kmart. And it would be like, oh man, I could get like one like badass G.I. Joe, or I can get 5 of these, you know, G.I. Jerry. So yeah, I do remember those. And now I will say, as far as G.I. Joes, man, my cousin Colt and I, we had tons. I mean, we would go spend the night with each other, and you know, we would take like a grocery store like brown bag, just full to the brim. But and I was never really big on like the vehicles or the bases. But one of my favorite Christmases, and again, didn't get a ton of stuff all the time, but you know, Christmas was like the big day for us. And I think it was, you know, I think it was my mom just, you know, really just kind of going all out, because she was always so proud. And like me as, you know, a father now, I totally get it. I want to buy my kids everything. But I remember waking up and one morning, and I had the G.I. Joe space station, the Defiant.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, you know, I mean, I know like big collectors that still look back at this thing as like the grail item, because it was huge, and it had like,
And it was like a like there was a like a space craft, right? Like a not a rocket ship, but like a what's it called, man?
well, it was weird. It was like you had like the bottom piece, which was massive, and it would like fold out, and it would sort of stand up. So basically, there was like an elevator in it, and there was like, you know, all that kind of stuff. But then like you would put it down and put that in, and then like another not space shuttle, but like I mean, I guess
Kind of
space
though, right?
shuttle.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
looked
that's
like a
what I
little like
remember.
stealth fighter kind of sort of, and it would like hook onto the top of the other one. One thing that was really weird though, and to all you listeners out there that are into toys, you may be able to help me out. So when I got this, I know that it was new. I know that you know we had the box and everything, but mine never had the little thing that like the little launch bay that would hold the whole thing. Because I look back, you know, when I was looking back a few days ago, and I was like, oh man, I wonder, you know, what this thing's going for, whatever. And in every photo, there's like this like blue and red, you know,
Almost like a clamp.
it's
right?
like a big
that
clamp.
holds
That's
the-
yeah. And mine, I never had that. So like, I'm wondering if they thought that was just part of the like the box that held the ship in. They're just like, yeah,
Boy,
get that.
I'll tell you.
Just throw it away.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. They opened that thing and they're like, okay, man, yeah, let's kind of like piece it together, or
together.
let's get it propped up, you know, nice. And one of those one side of those things just broke off like
Oh, you're right.
and then they were like, well, I guess we got to break the other side. Pop. And then to the trash.
Yeah, you're right. That could have been it.
Trust me, dude.
Dude, last year we had funny situations. Courtney and I, tensions are high. We were arguing over something. It's like, we put the girls to bed. We did the whole thing. We did the milk and cookies. We did the Santa tracker. We did everything, which is all like, in theory, is really fun. But the idea that, and we had also spent the entire day like with her family and stuff. So it was like really getting down to crunch time where it's like, okay, well now we got to put everything together. And I don't even think we finished till like 2:30 in the morning. But there was this one little thing, this like little like bicycle scooter thing. And it was one of those toys that's kind of like, the toys that they're like a little more expensive. I don't want to say they're like boutique-y, but they're like, they're just made better parts, probably made in the U.S., but like attention to detail. They're they're the things that are going to be durable, out of all your toys. But it was this little like scooter thing, and I ended up putting like the wrong end in like that, like sort of like latched in this piece. Dude, it took me 2.5 hours to literally completely take this thing apart. Every single screw I had to take out because I couldn't. It would go in and then like latch, so you couldn't like pull it out. It's like if you get shot with an arrow, you can't like pull the arrow out because. And it was a situation like that, and I literally had to like unscrew, like totally break down this thing and then build it completely, put it back together. It was horrible.
Man, we've had those kind of situations a lot of times too. It's like something that we order from Amazon, and then like the instructions are in English. Well, they're just English words that are used.
Yeah,
but it's definitely not like, I think they may have just been like copy and pasted into like Google Translate.
Exactly.
So they don't really make sense. And man, yeah, it gets pretty frustrating for sure.
Those toys were made in the same factory as the those knockoff G.I. Jerry's.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Anyway, so to go back to that Christmas morning, woke up, boom, G.I. Joe Space Station, Defiant. It was awesome. This is probably the second or third year that my dad had kind of come back into the picture, and he picked me up later. So then I went down there, and I think it was like probably a little bit of like dad competition with my mom. So I get down there, and there's like the mobile, it's like the mobile command center, the G.I. Joe thing that like, it was brown, and it like folded out like a tackle box, like step,
I
so
vaguely remember.
That was a big Christmas, to have like both of like the biggest G.I. Joe bases,
Yeah, my buddy had like the aircraft carrier.
Oh,
that thing
yeah.
was humongous. I'm sure it cost like, God only knows, man. I would
Yeah.
love to kind of like look that up and see.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking like, man, this is so cool. I couldn't wait to get to his house. You go there, and then like his sister broke a piece, and like, and then I'm kind of like, yeah, man, this is awesome, but like I liked playing with G.I. Joe. Like I want to take him out into the yard.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can't carry this,
The base, yeah.
freaking canoe.
Yeah.
The size of it was just humongous.
Well, even the cool thing about like the Space Center is like and again, sorry to all you folks who aren't into like 80s toys, but to all you folks that are, exactly what we're talking about. This imagery fills your heart, with warmth and nostalgia. But the cool thing about like the space station is like you could, like I said, like the little, God, I know, what is the right word? It's like a space like module, or like, it's not really like the space shuttle. It looks kind of like a jet, basically.
I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, the cool thing about that is you could pop that piece off. So the big piece, and the one at my dad's, like the mobile, like the mobile command
center or whatever.
That stayed in the room, but like rarely was it ever played with because we were all, same with you, we were always outside playing.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about the space shuttle is you could pop it off, and it's probably like
Fly it around.
It's like a foot long, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that this was around those few years. Do you remember toys and a show called Captain Power?
What is it called?
It's called Captain Power. Man, they were amazing, dude. they came with these like VHS tape that you would play, and then you had these like, it was really interesting. You had these like guns, but they were basically like jets. And so we'd run around and like shoot them like they were guns, and they had like a handle like a gun. So you would shoot with like and it would shoot like a laser out of the TV or whatever. And then you had like your little G.I. Joe sized character of Captain Power. He would sit in the front. And so you're watching the VHS, and it's doing these like red like sensors, and you're supposed to pull the trigger and shoot the gun at every single one.
Oh my gosh,
do you remember this,
dude? Yes, I do. I have not thought about these things.
They were awesome,
man.
And he had like a badass like gold suit.
It's like almost Judge Dredd looking,
kind of like Judge Dredd. Yeah. He had like the visor helmet, and then he had this gold suit with a circle in the middle and like golden blue, and he had like the white jets were the good ones. The black and red were like, clearly 80s. Black and red was like the bad guy. And then like you would shoot these like little, it would have these like little circles like on the TV that you would shoot at when it's like, oh, well, here's the big target. And I can't remember, it's like if you didn't shoot enough or if it shot back, like somehow the gun / plane would like, was able to like identify, and it would like, if you lost, it would basically, it would eject the seat out and your character would fly out.
Yeah. And if you don't remember these, and like, look, this is the moment of the podcast where I say to my brother, hey man, Google Captain Power. It's going to blow your mind. I completely,
dude.
You know what's crazy? So I actually like, and we're going to have to put them in the, on the Instagram. I still have the bad Lord Dredd and like the pterodactyl looking dude. But the funny thing is, I'm pretty sure those were my brother-in-law's. He recently like just like dumped off his old toys for our kids to enjoy. And
they're in there?
Yeah, man. And like,
oh, wow.
This longest time I've been like, man, I know who these guys are, but I can't put my finger on it. You know?
Yeah.
And I can, dude, my gosh, that's one of those like mind-blowing, I haven't thought of toys.
Yeah. I mean,
those things were amazing.
I'm sure we'll do like a toy episode, but yeah, there's a few of those that like I like vaguely remember. Obviously we remember all of like the Ninja Turtles. In fact, I actually went up to it was a house that I lived in, but now my sister lives in it, and I ended up finding a huge bag. I have almost every single of like the original Ninja Turtles, obviously out of the package and all, but like they still have all their weapons, all their belts, everything. Mm-hmm. But then, there's like a couple little figures like mixed in that are like sort of the more obscure stuff. Like I remember I was really big into Exo Squad. Do you remember them?
No, man. Again, I would probably remember if I looked them up. It's kind of like Supernaturals. Have we talked about that before?
No. What is it? I don't know what that is.
The Supernaturals were like, I want to say that's the dude that like, or like the characters were these weird sort of like, they had these holographic images on the front. They're like skull like figures or whatever.
Oh, but wait, are you talking about?
They had like 3D holograms inside them. So you would take like the front off.
But and then, are you sure you're not talking about like the Visionaries?
So there's two different ones. I know that I do remember the name Visionaries, but the Supernaturals is the one that I'm specifically talking about.
Because the Visionaries had like the holographic, I think they had it like on their like shields or on their like chest or something.
Yeah, no, Supernaturals did too. So I don't know about Visionaries, but
what did the Supernaturals look like?
Like kind of like the evil version, probably.
Oh, okay, cool.
What is the other one? Visionaries?
Yeah, Visionaries. I think they were like futuristic, but they were kind of like knights almost or something. I remember they looked really cool though.
Yeah. Okay, I just looked them up. No, yeah, these are different. Yeah, you're right. Those look kind of like futuristic. They have holograms. They also have holograms on their shields. The ones that I'm talking about, the Supernaturals, imagine like, it's almost like something that would be in D&D. So like this character that's got like a, like the chest plate is just all made of like skulls, and then like the hologram itself is like a skeleton face. I've still got it as well, man. I'll send you a picture of it. It's just like random stuff like that. Like how in the world... Well, this kind of goes back to just the one thing I think our kids are missing by just being able to have TV shows and movies on demand.
Yeah,
are the incredible commercials that would give you so many ideas
Yeah.
of what you wanted for Christmas.
I know.
You know?
Well, and it's kind of a bummer now too, I feel like, because, you know, if you are watching demand, you're you know, I feel like back in the 80s especially, you would see all these ads and these just amazing commercials of like what were they called? They were called like I remember just obscure like titles, like Brave Star was one. Do you remember Brave Star? Mm-hmm. He was like a cowboy, like sort of in the future.
Oh, yep.
Remember that?
Yep.
Another one that I was obsessed with were called Sky Commanders. Do you remember them? They were like these.
No, but we've talked about Silverhawks too before.
Oh yeah, dude, Silverhawks were awesome. I love those, and I cannot find any of my old Silverhawk toys.
I've still got some of mine, bro.
They were great, man. But Sky Commanders were the ones that like they were like these dudes, and the reason I remember this is like it came with like super 80s. It came with like a cassette tape that you would put in, and you're like listening to like a mission, but like the guys would be like say like the leader or the captain would be, you know, and I guess now thinking back, I guess like the one that I got was like not the leader. It was like somebody on the Sky Commander team. So like the leader character would be like talking to you and being like, oh, shoot your rope over here. And it would like shoot these like little ropes out that you would like, it would like a hook at the end, and you would hook, and then it would like, kind of like a zip line. Do you remember those?
Yeah, no, I don't remember.
You may
those.
have actually been in Indonesia, because I think these were older. And then like Dino Riders, that was another one.
Yeah.
You see those? But yeah, you know, these sort of like obscure kind of toys, I feel like nowadays you would never really see, because
Well, yeah, I mean, there was just back then, dude. I mean, for a couple reasons. Saturday morning cartoons,
Exactly.
man. That was the time you wake up.
Yeah.
There's so many different cartoons on. There's all the commercials in between.
and the commercials were
You know,
just as entertaining,
Yeah, for sure, man.
because all these awesome
and
toys
also,
that you've never seen.
Yeah, you know, it's just, gosh, man, some of those toys I can't believe. I totally forgot about those, man.
Oh, dude, another one that I remembered. These were like really obscure. Not a lot of people that I've ever talked to about these remembers them, but they were called Starcom. Do you remember those?
Starcom.
Basically, you had these. You would have like these like spaceships, and they're really, really detailed. And the characters were like, I mean, they're pretty small. They were like maybe 2 inches tall, and they were like these like little like astronauts, and really cool like arm articulation and stuff. But the big thing is like they had magnets in their feet. Do you remember those?
No, man. I looked them up, and I mean, it's just vaguely kind of remember
Man,
them, but
they were
I
so
definitely
cool.
never had them.
Yeah, I was obsessed with these things.
What was the one? First off, I'm still just like blown away by Captain Power, but I mean, dude, I'm not even joking. It's kind of like, whoa, man, I haven't thought about that. Oh man, it's so long. And there's two other mysteries in my life that I think about every other day. One, that crazy, scary thing
yeah.
that I used to have the recurring dream about, the skinless creature man thing. And then the other one is this song from the early 2000s. The video is like, starts with like some firecrackers or something, and then these dudes start, it's like some kind of indie.
Dude, you have been talking about this video and this song since we started the band.
Yeah, no, but it was like around that time, dude. And I remember showing it to you.
I know, but I remember even in the band days, which may have been later, we'd be doing something, we'd be working on a song or something, you'd be like, yeah, you know, kind of like the intro of that song with the video with the fireworks. And I'm like, man, I have no idea.
Man, I know. I wish to God I could find it. We kind of got off the rails here.
Sorry.
What about, what was I saying about, Captain Power, which is just, I can almost like smell the way those toys smell. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's kind of like if you imagine the way the inside of a Pizza Hut smells, boom, it takes you there immediately.
And those red Coca-Cola cups.
Red Coca-Cola cups.
The little ice, little tiny pieces of ice. God, I loved Pizza Hut. And now if you had like a good Pizza Hut, you would have the
Video games.
The table Mrs. Pac-Man.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And Galaga.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, dude, did you ever have any sort of, you know, obviously Santa's real, but did you ever have any Christmases that sort of, as you got a little older, that sort of led you to maybe doubt a little?
You know, it's funny, man. I cannot remember. No. In short, no. I don't remember anything kind of making me be like, well, that doesn't really. I just, I remember asking my mom, hey, Mom, people at school, it's so cliche, but this is kind of how it goes down, I think, for everybody. Somebody at school, my friend at school, said that Santa isn't real. Like, this is my friend. I mean, why would he lie? Like,
there's always the asshole kid at school.
Yeah. Hee-haw. And she would just say, you know what, son? Like, here's the thing. Santa Claus is as real as you want him to be.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, man, I mean, look, I'm pretty sure she still writes from Santa, or I'm sorry, Santa Claus still stops at her house with my presents.
Yeah, my mom does too.
So we keep the magic alive. So no, there wasn't really like any defining moments. I can't even remember really ever. It's just something that I just didn't care to whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I had one, man, and it's still like one of these things that it just kind of like pains me on the inside. But
still stings.
It does still sting a little. I'm sure my mom had already gotten all the presents. It was Christmas Eve. Earlier that day, we went to Lakeshore Mall, which back in the day it was awesome, and now it's just something else. But back in the day, there was a KB Toys, and it was amazing. They had so much cool stuff, and I wish I would have been a little older, because I remember, even as a kid, I remember seeing like a ton of like Dungeons and Dragons modules and miniatures and all that kind of thing. But
man,
I just, I was too young. So, but anyway, I remember Christmas Eve, we're there. Mom had to pick up a few things for the next day, and she's checking out at the counter. And I happened to be sort of looking around, and keep in mind, this was before the internet or ordering stuff off Amazon or going to like Target where there's like 20 lines. This was like it was a nationwide chain, but it was ran almost like a mom and pop. There was one counter, and there was a line like around the whole store pretty much. My mom was checking out. She's like paying for something, and I happened to turn around, and there was a rack of like these books. And in retrospect, I think there were probably a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons books in there. But I see this X-Men RPG from TSR. It's like this RPG. It was like in a box, and it was like an Uncanny X-Men special campaign, like role-playing game. And I was like, oh my God, this is everything that I want. This was right around that time where, and in fact, it may have actually been even the same year as the Jim Lee X-Men 1, find. So, like I said, Mom had already bought all of my Christmas presents, and then the day of Christmas Eve, I look over and I'm like, oh my God, Mom, I gotta have this. I have to have it. But, like role-playing games, I mean, who knows? It was probably $30, $40, $50. And she had just had enough. We'd been shopping all day. She had already paid. There's a massive line behind her. And then that's when I see this book or this game. And so I remember being like, it's okay, Mom. I'm just going to ask Santa for it. And she was like, I don't know. It's pretty late. And I can remember specifically, she kept sort of reiterating like, I don't know, Santa has to leave early for other parts of the world that, that wake up before we do. So, it may have been too late. And I remember specifically laying in bed that night and staring up at the ceiling, and I used to do this thing too, and I don't even remember why I did this, but I would and I remember on Christmas Eve, I would like turn around and I would put my like feet on the headboard, like up the wall, and I would just like lay there because I was so just anxious and like restless, and I would probably stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning, which is late for a kid, but just staring at the ceiling just because I could not wait. But I remember specifically that night thinking, it's okay.
You're talking about specifically for Christmas,
For
right?
Christmas, yeah, not
okay. Just not like every night.
No, not
life
every
or
night.
whatever.
No.
This
Although I
poor
did go
kid.
through this
Okay.
bout of insomnia in high school, but yeah, it was Christmas Eve. I'm staring at the ceiling. I'm just like, man. And it was like this weird sort of like internal struggle, because it was like, well, that's weird that like Mom didn't get it, and does she need to like call Santa or like it was like my mom, I was trying to like figure out how it would work. And, I reassured myself as I went to sleep, it'll be cool. It'll be in the living room. When I get up, Santa's going to take care of it. And it was not. And that Christmas was just, and again, like I'm sure all the other presents were amazing. And, but that was like that was a real sort of pivotal moment for me. Being like, man, Santa kind of let me down this
You might
year.
have been naughty, bro. Dude, let me ask you another question. Since you already admitted, to Tyler's mom, if she's listening, I'm sorry for you because what a jerk of a kid. But since you snuck around and stuff, did you ever have a moment where you happened to come upon like a present that you really wanted and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, or like find a present that was hidden, and then you find it, and it's kind of like, oh.
Yes, I have the exact story of that, and this was a year or so after that. Well, I was a little older by this point. I was a teenager, but yes, I had seen Wayne's World. I think was around that time also,
and her name was Cassandra.
And so, I didn't even know that if I had any musical ability. Later on, we would both find out that we both do. But at the time, it was just like, oh man, I think the idea of this is cool. I think my babysitter had got me into maybe the first Pearl Jam album, and maybe the first Stone Temple Pilots album. Maybe I may be thinking like later, but
yeah.
But anyway, the whole year I was just like going on and on and on about, oh my gosh, like I got to get an electric guitar, and I'd narrowed it down. Like so, I was subscribed to it wasn't Musician's Friend. It was Musician's Friend, but then there was another magazine called. Man, I can't think of it.
I haven't thought of Musician's Friend in at least 20 years.
Yeah, there was another magazine
other
that's no longer around, but it was like a mail order store kind of deal.
For like gear.
Yeah, for like music gear. And again, this was like long before either of us were like in bands or anything. So it was just the idea of like, oh man, I saw this picture of this PV Predator that's amazing, and I gotta have it. And so I just went on and on and on and on about it throughout the year. And, I think I like ran across something. So my mom's old house, or the house that I grew up in, there was like the house, and then, I don't know, probably 100 feet beside it was like a separate, 2-car garage underneath. And then you'd go up the stairs, and it was my stepdad Rick's office. And that year I had to go get something, or for whatever reason, I think I came across what I thought was a guitar case like during the daytime. So the nighttime, everybody had went to sleep, and I remember I like snuck out of my bed, went into like what we called the big room, which was like the big upstairs sort of like living room area, snuck down the stairs on the side of the house outside, snuck up my stepdad's office, and like army crawling on my stomach, even though, it's not like, there was a window in the front, but it's not like if anybody would have looked out in the pitch black, they could have seen.
Impossible for them to see.
Yeah, but I'm like utmost, because
and it's completely detached from the main house.
Yeah, it's not even in the house. And plus they're asleep, so it's like whatever. But I am like army crawling. I'm like so serious about it. I see across the room, keep in mind I'm still army crawling. I see across the room, there's a guitar case. I'm crawling. I'm coming toward it. I'm like, oh my gosh, she did it. They did it. They finally got something that I wanted, even though I got what I wanted every year. But, as a little jerk teenager, and I undo the snaps, the whatever they're called, the little. Yeah, they're not called snaps, but whatever they're called, the little.
Why can't we think of that?
God bless America. The like.
Oh my God, clasps. I guess
that is not the word, but we'll go with it. Clasps. I undo all the clasps and and open the case. There it is. A 1960s parlor acoustic Yamaha guitar. The opposite of an electric PV Predator guitar. And I was so disappointed. Unbelievably disappointed.
Man, but let me just say, in defense of your mom at the time, unknowingly, she's actually doing you a huge favor, because I know what guitar you're talking about, that acoustic.
Yeah.
And it's, every time we try to bring a different acoustic into the studio, we've tried, like, I don't even know how many we had in LA.
Yeah.
But that guitar sounds better than any.
It does.
Like, the tone that we get off of that on record is better than any guitar I know, and much cooler than a PV.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, I would later get a PV Predator, which, was horrible. I thought it was cool at the time. But this guitar is a 60s Yamaha, probably pretty cheap in the 60s. It belonged to my neighbor, and he ended up selling to my mom. And this neighbor is he's played with like Vince Gill. He's like a famous banjo player, like in Nashville. He's won in every state, like the national like banjo competition. Apparently you have to go around and kind of like, go against all the other players in the state. And he's won in every single state, which is pretty amazing. But anyway, he knew what he was doing. And so he sold it to her, and it had actually belonged to some famous country singer back in the 60s and 70s, or maybe, 60s and 70s, a guy named Little Jim Ed Brown. And apparently he had, like, shortened the neck even. So it's this tiny little, it looks like a little parlor guitar. And it's just an amazing guitar. But I remember... at the time, so disappointed. The next day comes around. My mom is so excited because she thinks that I'm just going to, like, be obsessed with it. And another thing is that the case was, like, it was probably a $150 case, just, like, the nicest case you can ever have for a guitar. And, she didn't know. She was so excited about that case, and it was just like, ugh. I don't care.
Man, I know, dude. I just feel my heart. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
dude. I feel so sorry for
me. I know.
No, for your mom, man. Oh gosh, but of course, you didn't let on.
No. She probably had no idea. But oddly enough, the funny thing is she took me to 3 lessons, and I hated it. Mm-hmm. This is the worst. I totally quit. Yeah, I took those 3 lessons and then put that thing in the closet and didn't play for several years, probably till I was 17. And then
That's
I just
whenever I started,
picked it up and started being like, well, I want to learn this song, and just picked it up by ear. And but yeah, in retrospect, super disappointed in that gift, but I still have it in my studio right now. And yeah, thanks, Mom.
And you don't still have your PV, do you?
I don't have the PV.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Longevity, man.
Yeah.
Classics.
Yeah.
Cool, man. It's so much fun to kind of like go back in time and think about those memories, and then in turn kind of like, and we've kind of talked about this over the years, but like it's like nowadays, like there's not really, I don't really, it's hard when my wife will ask like, well, what do you want for Christmas? I'm like, let's just focus on the kids. Cause it's like,
yeah, me too.
Like if I want something, we'll go out and buy it potentially,
Mm-hmm.
And so like, for
not me, cause I had sort of a situation with my PayPal and
like,
Art account.
But both of our wives are the in charge of the budget, and so when we say like we just go out and buy it, we really mean first
ask permission.
We ask permission. Anyway, happy wife, happy life.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for us now, it's like the joy is really kind of seeing like our kids, on Christmas morning, that weird like it's like a physical thing. You can see visibly the nervous energy that they have in their bodies. They're like shaking, because they're so excited they can hardly even contain it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best, dude, and that's what I cannot wait for this week. And just
God, this week, man. Even you just saying that.
just mind-blowing, bro.
It is mind-blowing. I will say, and I've got to do this as an aside, like you were saying, all of us, especially the last few years, it's like, I don't need anything. Let's just do it for the kids. I don't need anything. Well, last year, my wife did get me a Wacom Cintiq tablet. So I got to give a shout out. And she totally surprised me. I had no idea. I thought it was like another one of those, like, let's just get.
Couldn't we use some new sheets?
Yada, yada. Yeah. We'll just handle the kids and like enjoy them. But then, boom, this giant, the biggest and best art tablet, which I use pretty much daily, I guess, as a comic book artist. But yeah, I got to give a shout out to Courtney. She definitely got the MVP award for last year.
That's awesome, man. And I'm sure, like, now I feel bad. So I'm like, well, I should probably remember what I get. But, like I said, it's just usually like we typically just kind of like, I don't know, tell each other what we want. Now, I will say that, like, sometimes what I love to do is kind of come up with that present that she'll totally forget that she even mentioned, and then boom.
See, I can never do that with my wife. She just,
dude.
But you'll do stuff like way out.
Oh, yeah, man. It'll be like something that she talked about, like, a year ago. I have just like this running list, and then I'll just like be like, oh, I'm gonna get her that, and then she's like, how did you even know that and it's like, when she was talking to me, I pretended like I was just like, hold on a second, baby, I gotta text somebody, and I'm just like putting it in the notes app. So
that's awesome.
That's a trick of the trade there.
Trick of the trade.
Look, dude, before I do that, I think we got to make sure that we tell people the big announcement that we announced at the top of the show, and that's about our merch store.
Boom.
It's the only place anywhere that you can get our merchandise. We're talking about over 20, I think close to 25 designs of hoodies, sweatshirts, T-shirts, hats, trucker caps, coffee mugs, stickers, buttons, you name it.
Posters,
exactly. Face masks, so you can be, COVID compliant or whatever. I mean, all these different things that you can get, and you can spread the word. And I mean, frankly, dude, what I love the most about this stuff is, well, I mean,
it's cool.
It's cool. I mean, it doesn't just look like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know where I was going with that. But
No. I mean, Woody and I have literally been, first of all, we've waited a long time before we put it out because we kind of wanted to like release it with like a big bang. And so there's a ton of content. There's a ton of stuff you can get. But honestly, I mean, when we were sort of doing the final touches of the store, we're like looking around like, man, can we figure out how to get some samples of these pups?
Yeah, I know, man. I want every single
awesome.
one of these things. I mean, in every color, there's just like a ton. That's super exciting. But all of that to say, look, this is Christmas week. You guys, have an amazing holiday. Whether or not you celebrate Christmas, if you celebrate something else, if you don't celebrate anything at all, take this time to reflect. We're going into a new year. What can you do differently? How can you improve? Most importantly, this is the time that just being with and or connecting with those that you love is my greatest wish for everybody. That's my Christmas wish to you, is that you're able to do that, and that you definitely do, even if that does mean just like a FaceTime call, whatever it is. Man, I hope you have a Merry, Merry Christmas and a happy holiday. And like we always say, man, thank you so much for just being a part of our journey here at That Would Be Rad, this podcast, being a listener, someone that, messages us after each episode and says, hey, man, that episode was amazing. Like, you don't have a clue what that does for us, man. We love getting that stuff. So don't be shy. Follow us on Instagram at That Would Be Rad. Make sure you check out our merch store, because trust me, oh, man, the crew neck sweaters.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you, Tiny Tim. And also, if, by the way, thanks, Ashton, for reminding us who that stupid character was that we could not think of last week.
God.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming back week to week. Like Woody said, we love you guys. We appreciate you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Have a joyous season. And as always,
be rad.
Oh, 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 oh.
Merry Christmas.